Thank you. Where's Michael Plant? Michael, I need you for the clicker, please. We'll make this fast. Amy, if you think you're nervous, oh my God. Congratulations to the two programs that were accomplished. And I'm an engineer, but it is fun to work with engineers and occasionally get things done. But you've got some stuff that's kind of challenging there. You're going to get 5 presentations. So we'll go to the first slide on the endowment. But before that, I will tell you, I know who went to Austin, first name again? Danelle. On behalf of Randy McCourt, our current ITE president internationally, greetings. I'm very involved in IT, and that's why that's up there. 2, on behalf of my country, I want to thank my driver and host, Warren Roberts, of the Municipal Engineering Foundation of Victoria. He's been dragging me around all over the state of Victoria for the last several days. I'll be here for 3 weeks on a study tour. And Michael Plant, a dear friend, a mate, a colleague. Michael and I worked in the States for a number of years. Michael came back home here, and Michael hosted me the other week at his home for a couple of days, as is Warren at this time. So again, on behalf of my country, thank you to your nation for accommodating me for a few minutes. I'll go really fast. So the first presentation is about the Midwestern District ITE endowment. Bottom line, we're planting apple trees for our children. When I was president of the Midwestern District of IT is 14 states in the middle of my country. We hadn't done enough about fundraising for our future. Yes, we gave scholarships. Yes, we did fundraisers. Yes, we gave a few dollars to a few people. But our Western District out in California and other Western states over 10 years had raised $500,000, and I was disappointed with that. So when I was president of this district, one of my goals as president was to start an endowment fund. So we did. We legalized it. The bad news for me, the year I ended my term, they said, well, if you want to run the endowment, the only way we're going to have the endowment is if you chair it. And I said, okay, fine. So now I'm the chair of that endowment. Over the last 2 years, we raised about $7,000. We're just starting. And if you wish to donate, you can go online tonight, look up Midwestern District IT, and send a donation via credit card. We take donations all the time. But that's enough on ITE. We'll go to my project, or our project, Michael. Thank you. So the CREATE program in the Chicagoland area is 25 grade separations, or as you call them, grade level removals. And I'm for grade level removals. But how many have been to the US? How many have been to the States? Okay, so in the States, to take a train from New York to Chicago takes 2 days. To take a train from Chicago to Los Angeles takes 2 days. To get a train through Chicago takes 2 days. So rail traffic across the US needed Chicago to be unhinged. Michael, thank you. I'll just say Michael. So we had a project, not billions, but it was still important. I think the fundamentals are the same, and that's why Michael asked me to speak. We had 2 at-grade crossings of Grand Avenue in a village I lived in. And by the way, it was pleasant to hear that Amy lived in a train station. You probably lived in Sydney during the project. And this lad that was here, and I think he had to scoot, he lives a block from the project. I lived in Franklin Park. We had 2 at-grade crossings of Grand Avenue about 1 kilometer apart. And we also had 5 other grade crossings in the neighborhood, in a residential neighborhood. They were very challenged. Train traffic was moving at 5 to 10 miles per hour versus 30. On Grand Avenue, a 4-lane street in my community, traffic suffered over 230 hours of delay per day. Over 230 hours per day. So Dan Pritchett, the mayor of the village I lived in for a number of years, I was very fortunate to live in the same village with the project. Dan was our champion, and every project needs a champion, and Dan was our champion. Michael, the next slide, fine, I'll keep going. Our goals included eliminate the railroad and roadway vehicular conflicts and accidents, which cost over $300,000 per year. We had 30,000 vehicles in the roadway, and 45 trains on the 2 grade level crossings of the roadway, and those delays were costing over $600,000 per year. Michael, next slide. I'll go faster because I'm more nervous than Amy was. On a personal note, this is a plaque I have in my office, and by the way, those of you that are young at heart, take things away from your work and try to keep some of them. This is a piece of the rail that was removed for the project. That's the underpass. The mayor cut this in his garage. I don't know how the hell he did it, but he cut pieces and made plaques for each of us, and that's the rail that was removed. So Two big things here. We received the largest grant ever. The project cost about $50 million all in. We received about we received $14 million from the Illinois Commerce Commission, largest grant ever of that type. And then we received $11.5 million for another funding program. Going back a little bit, the Women's Club of Franklin Park in 1954, they hired a lawyer for $50 to start studying the problem. So you mentioned 26 studies. The Franklin Park community studied this for 50 years. Michael, next slide. My mayor, Mayor Pritchett, was so proud of our team, he memorialized this on a stone on the bridge. My mother and father are both deceased. My mom's crying, my dad's laughing up in heaven. But the mayor is in the middle. You can probably see it's been washed by rain over years. To the right of the mayor is me, the bald guy. To the right of the mayor is Senator Dick Durbin, right? We have a legislature with 100 senators and a bunch of House people. By the way, they don't know what the hell they're doing. They all argue every day. And Senator Durbin, as a matter of fact, goes to my church. And that's a coincidental fact for you to take home. But Dick, when he's at my church, he's Dick. But when he's in Washington, he's Senator Durbin. Who recognizes the gentleman next to Senator Durbin? When he was here, he came to the bridge a couple of times. He was a state senator, and he got us money. So that's why Barack is on the plaque. But so I once worked with Barack Obama and Dick Durbin. We had a lot of agencies. Michael, next slide, because I know I'm the only thing between them and a glass of wine. I was the program manager, and back to whether it's $2 billion or $13 billion with economic development, it's, as you know, scope, schedule, budget, communications. And actually it should be communications, scope, schedule, budget. Every day, every minute, all the time, no matter what size. Program management is rarely used in the States on infrastructure projects, and I was proud to be the program manager. Michael, next slide. We'll go faster. Leave time for the panel. We had a great construction team. The contractor built the project, but in the States, we had 4 operating railroads through the corridor. The Canadian Pacific, the Canadian National, the Indiana Harbor Belt, a local intermodal, interfreight line in the Chicago area, and we had also had Metra, which is our commuter rail system in Chicago, Metra. We had a lot of characters involved in the project. Michael, next slide. Amy, it is nervous to be up here. Obstacles overcome. Just a couple. I think the one thing, how many here work for public sector clients or work in the public sector? My company serves over 300 municipalities every day. We love it, even though it's kind of crazy. But they always say, well, we've always done it this way, and well, that's how we did it last week, and don't ask any questions. On this project, we used private sector mentality in a public sector setting. It was kind of fun. We got things done a lot faster. Michael, next slide. By the way, if somebody wants this, I can email it to you, because I'm talking way too fast. We received money from Springfield and Washington. I was honored to go to both many times. It gets back to what you said, Amy, about place, and we're not engineers, we're communicators. So they would ask me to get on a plane or get in a car, and we go down to Springfield, Illinois, which is our capital. We go to Washington, D.C., and beg for more money, which is part of engineering, by the way. Engineers just don't do cross sections or drainage design. We have to be good communicators, but we got a lot of money. We kept Grand Avenue open through the entire project, 30,000 vehicles a day, kept it open all the time. We also kept the rail traffic moving through the corridor just as they did. We didn't have to use the special mobile crane unit, which I was very intrigued by, but we did keep all traffic moving. We also acquired pieces of over 100 parcels of right-of-way, some partially and some in complete takes. Next slide, Michael. I can't remember which. That's the finished product. Program management was key. We'll go to the next slide. Let's see. Early demolition. Right. We bought the railroad track. We bought the railroad track in 660-foot strings and thousands of ties. And the contractor determined, due to tight size and due to logistics on the site, he decided to lay the realigned rail system by hand. Not him, his team. So they had a couple of hundred people working from Friday night, same thing, so the commuters didn't get bothered, from Friday night through Monday morning to swing a number of thousands of feet of rail into place, but did it by hand. 6,500 ties laid by hand, just like in the old days. And that's a celebration of the finished product. That's not a current train in the United States. We brought in a historic train for the ribbon. We brought a historic train in for the ribbon cutting, because this is kind of a big deal. We were the first create grid separation built out of the 25. So let's move to the next one, Mike. Quick take, Michael. Quick take. So how many here know about compulsory acquisition, how you folks would acquire property. You would go out to Bob and say, Bob, we need your land or a piece of it, right? Shouldn't leave the mic. And you'd say, Bob, let's evaluate your property. It's worth $5,000. I made that up. And Bob, we're going to pay you. And then somebody argues, and you maybe pay him $7,000, but you pay him, and then you tell him to move, and he has like maybe 6 months to move and relocate, et cetera. We use what's called quick take. In Chicago, we say, we got a guy. We got a guy. So we had a state legislator that passed a special law, and it was only one sentence, and it said the Grand Avenue Railroad Relocation Authority, we use quick take. So we were able to go out and talk to Bob and say, we want your property, and tell him what we're going to pay him. And then he said, well, I like more. We said, that's fine, take us to court. So while we were in court legally, we could acquire the property and move on to the property and start construction, while we were in court parallel, giving him a better deal. So we still paid what was deserved. We didn't, this is French, I'm sort of bilingual. We didn't screw anybody, right? But we did pay him his due, but it saved us a year of construction time. And as you know, time is money, so we saved a lot of time by using quick take. Cut and throw, I think Michael, the next slide. I think I mentioned the cut and throw. This is the finished product, the rail lines. This is north of the structure in Franklin Park. On a weekend, they took, if you can imagine, I don't have enough video like the one gentleman, you've got two rail lines about 1 kilometer apart. The one rail line has to be moved and connected to the other for a 2-track structure, so that they had 150 people out there using bulldozers and small cranes. They lifted the track up, they throw it over, connect it, all by hand, and then laid 6,500 ties by hand to save money. Next slide. Cost management. Our Federal Highway Administration says that on a typical project of this size, $50 million, your change orders or your amendments during construction should be about, what did they say? I think 10 to 15%. They say 7.5%. We finished at less than 2% change orders. Change orders are amendments during construction, because you're right, you find stuff buried in the street. Who knows the best way to find a utility? Start a construction project. Because most of our, I'm sorry, I'm going, Michael. Most of our clients say, don't spend money on looking for stuff now. Let the contractor find it. That'll save us money. Not really. Next slide, please. I'm so proud of this. I should start crying again. I cried when this happened. I was in charge of the ribbon, or the breaking of the ground. That was the first slide. This is the ribbon cutting. We opened the project. We had people from all over Illinois come and see it, because it was the first grade separation completed. It's one of the 25 of the CRATE program. This is my baby. My picture's over here next to Barack, as you saw. Excuse me, President Obama. And Dick, or Senator Durbin. Michael, thank you for having me. That's it.